The first thing that sank was not the watermelon boat, but the day itself, because grief has a way of adding weight to even the lightest things. And when the woman stepped into the half-shell floating on the lagoon, she felt the past tilt under her feet like a bad memory pretending to be solid, the water licking up the green rind as if curious about what sorrow tastes like. And she sat because standing felt like an argument she was too tired to have, clutching a bunch of balloons she had bought. Out of habit from a vendor who smiled the way people do when they don't ask questions, the colors too loud for how quiet her chest felt, and she watched the man approach with the careful gait of someone who knows that even joy can break if you move too fast, his own sadness a mirror he didn't want to look into, because they had not planned to meet here, not after the letter. Not after the silence. Not after the long arithmetic of what-ifs that had followed them like mosquitoes at dusk. And yet, here they were, two people sitting in a fruit hollowed by hands that believed in sweetness, pretending the lagoon was just water and not the sum of every ending that had brought them to this afternoon. Above them, a hummingbird hovered, absurd and jeweled, gears ticking in its chest like a clock that had learned to fly, and the woman thought how unfair it was that time could have wings when hers felt nailed down, because it was time that had taken her mother in a winter so sudden the house still smelled like oranges left too long on the counter, time that had taken the man's faith when his brother disappeared into a road that never returned calls, time that had taken their language, so that even apologies sounded like blame, and the hummingbird's clock face winked in the sun as if mocking them, as if saying, "Hurry up, you're late to be happy," which made the man laugh once, a short sound he didn't recognize as his own, and then stop, embarrassed by it, because laughter felt like a betrayal of the dead. The watermelon rocked, water slapping its sides, and the balloons tugged upward, impatient with gravity, and the woman's hand shook because she remembered the last time she had been on water like this, how the surface had glittered and promised forgiveness, how it hadn't delivered, how promises often float away before you can read the fine print, and she said, almost to herself, that she was tired of holding on to things that only wanted to leave, and the man nodded because he had learned the same lesson the hard way, by gripping his anger until it went numb and then dropped him. And he said, quietly, that he was tired of not trusting the good when it showed up dressed as nonsense. The hummingbird darted closer, ticking louder, and for a moment the lagoon felt like a stage set too whimsical to be real, lights gleaming among palms, stones arranged like intentions, and the woman noticed a watering can tipped at the edge, spilling a stream of water that caught the light and broke it into little stars, and something in that glitter pierced her, because it reminded her of nights she had cried into the sink so quietly she thought even the faucet would judge her. And she swallowed, tasting salt, and asked why the world kept insisting on beauty when it hurt so much to look at, and the man answered, not wisely but honestly, that maybe beauty was the apology, badly phrased but sincere, and that maybe joy didn't erase grief, but learned to sit beside it without flinching. They drifted, the watermelon making a soft wake, and the woman's balloons bumped the man's shoulder, and he steadied them with a hand that remembered how to be gentle, and in that small choreography something loosened, not fixed but unknotted enough to breathe, and the hummingbird's ticking slowed as if satisfied, as if time itself leaned back for once, and the woman let one balloon slip free, watching it rise with a pang that did not turn into panic, because she realized she could let go without falling apart, and the man felt the water lap his calves and did not pull away, because he realized he could be here without bracing for impact. The lagoon changed color as afternoon leaned toward evening, and the sparkles from the watering can scattered like seeds, and the woman thought of her mother's hands in the garden, how watering was an act of faith you performed daily without guarantee, and she smiled, small but real, and the man saw it and felt something answer in him, a warmth that didn't demand anything, and he said, with a grin that surprised them both, that if they were going to float in fruit and defy common sense they might as well dance. And she laughed then, a fuller sound, because the idea was ridiculous and therefore perfect, and they stood, the watermelon wobbling, water splashing, their balance a conversation they were finally willing to have, and they swayed, not graceful, but earnest, the balloons bobbing approval, the hummingbird circling like a blessing disguised as a clock, and when the woman slipped he caught her, and when he doubted she steadied him, And the lagoon held, and the day, which had sunk so heavily at the start, lifted just enough to prove it could. By the time the stars replaced the sparkles and the watering can ran dry, they were wet and laughing and tired in the good way, the kind that comes from spending yourself on living instead of guarding your wounds. And the woman realized that sadness had not vanished but had been given a seat and a glass of water and told it could stay without running the show. And the man realized that hope was not a promise but a practice, like stepping onto a watermelon and trusting it to float. And as they drifted back to shore with fewer balloons and lighter hearts, the hummingbird zipped off, ticking, fading into night, leaving behind a lagoon that reflected them not as broken pieces, but as two people learning, unexpectedly, how to be happy again.